Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're looking squarely at a massive tension right at the heart of global development, specifically within the engineering and construction services industry. This sector literally builds our modern world. Power plants, highways, sprawling facilities, you name it. But how do you balance creating massive physical infrastructure with the absolutely critical need to protect local ecosystems? Well, it's a high-stakes balancing act for sure, and the rules, they are changing fast.
I really want you to think about this question. What actually happens before the first shovel even hits the dirt? The truth is, if a firm waits until construction begins to start thinking about the environment, they're already too late. Infrastructure projects pose immense, immediate threats to local habitats, from biodiversity loss to hazardous waste spills. And if these are ignored, the problem isn't just ecological anymore. It quickly becomes a terrifying financial and reputational nightmare. We're talking about acute project delays, massive regulatory fines, severe community pushback, and in extreme cases, total project cancellations. So today, we're going to look at exactly how the best firms solve this problem through rigorous due diligence.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The environmental footprint. 2. Assessing risk before building. 3. Due diligence and siting. 4. Operational mitigation strategies. 5. Codes, standards, and guidelines. And finally, 6. The competitive edge.
Section 1. The environmental footprint.
Proper assessment is the absolute key to mitigating unforeseen financial disasters. The official industry standards make this crystal clear. Failing to manage your environmental footprint leads directly to skyrocketing operational expenses. Just imagine clearing a massive site only to discover an endangered species of frog you hadn't accounted for. The resulting community outrage and regulatory action? That will stop a multi-million-dollar project dead in its tracks. Profitability and growth opportunities just vanish overnight when environmental foresight is ignored.
Let's look at the specific threats construction entities must navigate every day. We're talking about severe biodiversity impacts. We're talking about heavy emissions to the air and massive discharges into local water sources. And don't overlook slope and soil disturbance. Improper grading and excavation can lead to erosion that undermines an entire region's stability. Add to that the generation of harmful waste, heavy natural resource consumption, and the usage of hazardous chemicals. Honestly, stepping onto a major project site without a comprehensive environmental assessment is literally like navigating a minefield blindfolded. Every single step is a potential catastrophe.
Section 2. Assessing risk before building.
So, to understand how top-tier firms actually manage this, we can turn to the SASB framework. Under their topic of environmental impacts of project development, there's a highly specific qualitative metric. It's coded IF-EN 160A.2. Now, unlike quantitative metrics that just ask for a sheer number, like say, how many non-compliance incidents you had, this metric demands a deep, qualitative narrative from the firm. It takes our theoretical discussion and grounds it completely in strict corporate reporting reality.
Let's break down exactly what IF-EN 160A.2 requires, because this is huge. It mandates that a firm provide a qualitative discussion of the processes they use to assess and manage environmental risks. And look at the timeline it covers: project design, siting, and construction. It forces construction firms to be entirely transparent about how they evaluate and handle threats across every single stage of a project's lifecycle. That means starting from the earliest feasibility studies and proposals all the way through to contractor procurement and the final physical build.
Section 3. Due diligence and siting. The SASB standard lays out a really clear chronological progression for this due diligence. Step 1 is assessing the baseline environmental conditions. You have to know exactly what local legal requirements exist and what the ecological health of the area is before you ever touch it. Step 2 is evaluating feasible, environmentally preferable alternatives, like could the project be sited slightly differently to protect local biodiversity or maybe optimize renewable natural resource use. And Step 3, this one is absolutely crucial, is stakeholder engagement. Talking to the surrounding communities and regulators early on, that prevents devastating pushback later.
But of course, not all projects are created equal, right? Due diligence has to scale with severity. Firms must describe how they manage projects with increased expectations. A perfect example provided in the standards is an International Finance Corporation, or IFC, Category A project. These are projects expected to have significant adverse environmental impacts. While a standard project might just require some baseline checks, a Category A project requires a massive escalation in due diligence policies. We're talking far more stringent environmental impact assessments and heavy community safeguards. Firms have to transparently categorize this risk severity right out of the gate.
Section 4. Operational mitigation strategies.
Eventually, those theoretical design plans must translate into physical, operational best practices on a bustling job site. The SASB metric requires firms to detail their active mitigation practices. They have to explain exactly how they implement strict waste management on site. How are they physically controlling air emissions from heavy equipment or preventing toxic water runoff? How are they reducing biodiversity impacts in real time as they clear land? It's all about proving that the minimization of natural resource use and hazardous chemical usage is actually happening on the ground, not just on paper.
And here's the thing, operational mitigation isn't just a to-do list. It's a culture of compliance. Operating within the bounds of environmental regulations goes way beyond just filing the right paperwork. The guidelines explicitly state that compliance requires comprehensive employee training. Workers actually need to know the relevant regulations and the exact cleanup procedures. It requires strict quality control processes right there on the project site. And perhaps most importantly, it requires robust internal mechanisms for reporting and following up on environmental incidents. You have to ensure accurate data is maintained because, let's face it, you can't fix what you don't accurately track.
Section 5. Codes, Standards, and Guidelines.
Now, firms don't have to invent these mitigation strategies out of thin air. They're expected to disclose which recognized frameworks they utilize, and man, the list is extensive. We see green building certifications like BREEAM and LEED, the Equator Principles, IFC performance standards, and UN guidelines. Utilizing these standards isn't just about getting a shiny plaque for the corporate lobby. It proves to stakeholders that the firm's commitment to rigorous environmental risk management is actually validated by the highest global authorities.
Section 6. The Competitive Edge.
For investors and sustainability professionals tuning in, this all comes down to the bottom line. Proper risk management isn't just bureaucratic red tape. It is pure strategic defense. By anticipating environmental issues early, firms radically reduce the likelihood of costly regulatory oversight. They neutralize the threat of community pushback that causes unexpected, catastrophic legal fines and delays. But it goes way beyond just playing defense. The SASB standards note that effectively assessing and communicating these environmental considerations establishes a massive competitive advantage. Firms that master those IF N160A.2 qualitative disclosures build immense trust. Think about it. When a firm can confidently show a prospective client exactly how they will protect the local environment, avoid fines, and keep a project on schedule, they win lucrative new bids. Environmental due diligence transforms basic compliance into a really powerful engine for revenue growth.
I want to leave you with this final thought to consider. If we know that rigorous environmental planning literally dictates the financial future and viability of modern infrastructure projects, what does your firm's due diligence reveal about you? Transparency, early assessment, and operational integrity aren't just environmental necessities anymore. They are the true foundations of sustainable, profitable infrastructure. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep building smart.